I consider the source of Ogilvy's competitive advantage to be their reputation and their expertise. They've been around for a long time, so they have learnt and they know the environment and they know how the industry works. So because of this, they can be seen as more trusted by their clients. So it could also be argued that because they've been around so long, their views might be looked as traditional, or they might have a wrong vision that doesn't adapt to the modern world. Looking at the resource view, they are rare, they are valuable, and they are organised to capture value. But however, one thing you can argue is that their reputation is imitable, because anyone can have like a good reputation, but it is costly to imitate their reputation because of all their resources and how long they've been around. So people can argue that their reputation is built and not rare, but to Ogilvy, their reputation is rare. So according to the module, looking at all those points, they are sustainable as they are valuable, they are rare, but they might be imitable, but that can be argued, and they are organised to capture value. So this model does have its flaws because it doesn't look at the external factors, it just looks at internally more, and it doesn't look at the environment. So the environment is dynamic and forever changing, so they'll have to forever adapt in order to be sustainable, because they might be sustainable now, but in the future when everything's changing, they might not be sustainable. They'll need to keep up with this. So Ogilvy have a large number of resources. They have financial resources, a lot of it being from goodwill, so like their investors. So they also have like technology and human resources of very talented people who work for them. So this shows they have like a good foundation and good resources. So they need to protect their employees and clients by keeping up with their good reputation, meeting their needs so that they continue to invest and continue to get income from these people. So I believe that the main key driver to the restructuring and branding are the stakeholders. So as mentioned before, it's important to keep the employees so that they continue to work with them and investing. And looking at the SWOT analysis, a weakness of Ogilvy is that before they rebranded and restructured, they started to lose clients and lose employees, so they needed to make a change. So one of their strengths being financial, they're able to invest money into changing the structure of the company by making it simpler, allowing them to put more focus on the stakeholders, allowing them to build more relationships, and showing that they are able to adapt. They're using their technology and their creativity and resources, which are all their strengths. They are able to make the change, and they are doing this to reassure their stakeholders that they are changing for the better to make them stay. So another driver for the change is the external environment, the changing environment. And the pestle analysis shows that there's ever-changing environment. There's the competitors, technology, social factors, accessibility for consumers using their own marketing. This meant that change is needed to have their competitive advantage and show their strategy as to why that they should be chosen over other methods of marketing. So Ogilvy's revenue has actually decreased from 700 million to 200 million within 15 years. So this is also a driving factor. They need to increase their revenue again. If they're losing that much revenue, they need to make a change. So some can argue that this is because of the change in consumerism, and it might be like that for other companies, but it's still a driving factor, and that is a lot of revenue to lose. So there are changes that need to be made for Ogilvy to maintain and expand their competitive advantage. So as an overview, looking at the Porter's 5 forces, there's a low threat of new entrants and there's a low threat of substitutions, which is good for them. There's like these smaller businesses that come in won't affect them because they're this large business and they don't really matter to them. So there's a small threat of being replaced. However, there is still a lot of rivalry within their existing competitors. There are a lot of other top competitors, top marketing agencies to compete with. So they will need to ensure that they have a competitive advantage over these people. So they should do this by becoming more dynamically capable and more proactive to the changing environment rather than reactive, because they're reactive now. They react when it happens rather than being proactive and planning for it. So the market is rapidly changing. New strategy proves that they have sensed this and tried to adapt to it, but seizing it and looking at the driving forces to adapt to the environment. However, even though they've done this, they are stuck in a configurative and learning school. They're not being proactive, they're being reactive. They need to look more into the future and make plans that are aware what will happen to adapt before it happens and get their advantage. So in terms of disruptive innovation model, Ogilvy and their competitors are all in the higher market. So this is quite good. They already have like an established base and have a lot of consumers. So the main competitors are existing companies, so it is such as AKQA and BBDO, the threat of new entrants being low. So looking at Porter's generic strategy, Ogilvy fit in with the broad and reputable companies. So in order for the competition to gain more of an advantage, they need to move more to the right side of the model, which is more differentiation, which is the sweet spot. That will give them the competitive advantage if they're different from their competitors. So because of the new structure and the strategy, other competitors could feel a bit threatened by this, and this may lead to them having a look at their own structure and having a look at what Ogilvy's done, and may respond to doing similar things and reacting to the environment in similar ways. I think Ogilvy's restructuring and rebranding was necessary for adapting to the environment, as they were decongested, and I think they did need to become simpler so they can put more focus on their stakeholders and keeping up their reputation, as they were losing revenue and investors, which are necessary for the operation. It's also harder to be dynamically capable the bigger the company, so I believe that them having a smaller structure and a simpler structure, simpler structure, means that they should be able to be more dynamic, having different areas which can be focused on and easier to change. This is a benefit for Ogilvy. So, however, I can also argue that with proof from the profits, so the change has not given them a major competitive advantage. In 2019, Omnicom US-based companies are still the leaders. They still have more clients. They're still above them. So it can be debated that the change has not started to work, but it could work. It's only just started. I recommend that Ogilvy work on the dynamic capability. That's the main recommendation. So they should have a look at their resources. They have the resources to do it. With the new structure and with the new strategy, it should be easier for them to do it. So looking at the pestle analysis and the SWOT analysis, they can use this to make plans. They can look at the environment, the social factors, technology, and the people. And they look at the SWOT analysis, so they can look at their strengths and weaknesses and how they can use this to reach opportunities and threats in the environment. And this will make them more proactive. So they should carry out scenario planning, so more effectively in order to predict the future. So they will be able to adapt better and have a better competitive advantage. So they're currently in a good position. So they're in a world of consumerism. It's consumerism and talent-based world at the moment, which is ideal for them, and it gives them the most advantage at the moment. So, however, if the consumerism lowers, this is one of the scenarios they can look at. It looks like trends, as it looks like this is happening from looking at the pestle analysis. They need to start preparing for this. If the consumerism lowers, then they won't have as much clients. They won't have as much revenue coming in or interest. So other potential scenarios, whether it be extreme minimalism or decrease in talented people, they need to prepare for this, how they can overcome this and adapt to different scenarios that are coming their way. So currently people are looking to use more sustainable companies, which means consumerism may decrease, so they should look at becoming more efficient, more sustainable to meet the needs and wants. This is a way that they can adapt to the change of consumerism.